much further ado, the man of the hour, who I haven't introduced yet, is Mr. Ankur Sir. He's a program specialist culture at UNESCO New Delhi.
World Heritage and cultural sector at large. The theme of the celebration, the next 50, will also make us look back and appreciate the achievements of the past 50 years. While the definition of cultural heritage has been greatly expanded over the years, the way in which we see and deal with heritage has also evolved. Sustainable development goals have directed heritage management and conservation to an inclusive and people-centered approach. We are planning to conduct a series of events, webinars, and publications in the months to come, and we are glad to support conferences like these, celebrating the spirit of convention in unique ways. As the name suggests, this conference is one-of-a-kind approach that is celebrating the spirit of World Heritage Sites and Convention by showcasing this globally through popular media of economic exchange and presenting them as a means of creative outreach. Banknotes make interesting artifacts as their true wealth lies in their social, cultural, informative, educative, and community building roles of uniting national citizens with imagery, history, architecture, and heritage that binds and celebrates shared identity.
Peru, another one here from Czechoslovakia, and that one from Egypt. All of them have put their heritage sites on these notes. And this way, it looked like this was a very marvelous way to disseminate information without being academic, without being sort of powerful picture of the fish rearing from the sea. And I thought that was very impressive. And then this number of heritage sites. And here I must admit my total inadequacy, that I always thought it was a Mughal concept, but it is not. It has come from Persia. And it was first conceived in the 6th century BC by Cyrus the Great. I mean, can you imagine that 6th century BC, this man visualized it, and it symbolizes.
So let's go with the first question, which was actually part of the game that I started. Out there, but just for us to see that there's so much work done before. Question is, are we all familiar with heritage? Because this is what we're going to talk about today. So, of course, set it up for certification or for nomination, and that one and the one followed a year later, the next one, with it after it received its nomination. So there are, we can see some, but the percentage or the proportion of the mixed sites was much more in culture. Now, what is exactly a mixed site? And so not only is this a beautiful natural site rich in biodiversity, and it's called Kanchenjunga because it's on the eastern side of our country. Forward was, probably it's like the law of economics, right? The lesser the supply, the higher the demand. Also, when there is a smaller number of sites, it's easier to accommodate them as a part of the series.
Promissory notes. When we look at currencies of the colonial era, most of them, they recognize the importance of what the currency communicates. What they did was, they used to put the king of the country which is ruling. So initially, what did we have on the Indian currency? We used to have, when the paper currency came, King George V and King George VI. It's only when the countries became independent that we have seen more of the country on the currency. Just let me have a look at my notes so that I don't make a mistake. What the sovereign wanted, because currency represented the sovereign. Then we have a look at the various countries in the world. What did they have on the currency? The various countries of the world, they have their national icons, they have their leaders, they have their sceneries, they have their cultural sites, and they have, sometimes it's just some messaging which takes place on the currency. But so far in India, we had only three gentlemen on the Indian currency. We had King George V, we had King George VI, and we had the father of a nation, Mahatma Gandhi. Just go back. Currency earlier was points. It became currency only in the last 150 years or so. Of Emperor Ashoka. Now the land capital, actually the full land capital would also have a lotus at the bottom below the abacus, and there's a pillar that was actually it's there on the net. It is a picture of Mahatma Gandhi outside the Viceregal Lodge with William Pettit Lawrence, and that picture was taken, and we had a celebrated note designer and engraver of Giori. Actually, that's part of Delarue in the good olden days. That person has actually designed this note, but he removed some things from everybody's minds, that this was not a hurried job. There are two independent things. The committees, the Reserve Bank, that part of the government which continuously deals with what we will put on the new note and all that, is different from some decisions which you see get announced on a particular day and you relate it to that person and that. Contrary to that, 2 years before the present government came itself, that what should be put on the new note has started. I think the various things were considered, and whether it should be birds of India, animals of India, we also had the national icons and leaders of India. Now just imagine if you have some sort of, you call for some names, you can imagine hundreds of names would have come. The next step, if the international people design the notes, the big problem that comes is, if you tell them to put some figure there, some Ellora, they put the Ellora. But the rest of the note also has to be filled up. If the Indian
capture the culture of that country with images typically of a system supports over 360 species of coral and almost 700 species of fish. Perception studies have shown that people connect to images. So clearly, apart from the main engravings, we take elements from the imagery and build those into all elements of the print to integrate those.